Hi, it's Pete the Polymath. I'm sure you're surprised to see me in such a state because, as you may notice, I've now conformed to the norm. You see, in the past, when you've looked at me, you've seen me as an edentulous old man, and that might have caused some kind of some loss in the credibility of the words that I was about to say, but I used that situation not because I had to, but because my new dentures were not ready. My last set being run over by a car, which effectively cost me $5,000 and 6 weeks of going with absolutely none at all. Now, I think probably if you're seeing this, then you probably have seen others of my YouTubes over these last 3 weeks. You're one of those 1,600 new subscribers, almost doubling the number that I had before. And people suddenly looked at my YouTubes for 1,700 hours. Like, this is a really extraordinary thing. And you know my purpose. You know what I'm trying to achieve with this sudden exposure of my identity in some sort of way. Even that being one of my constructions, and that being of the Messiah, the second coming, the one who is brought forth from the prophecies of Armageddon. Now, I'm just a human. I'm just like you. I have no special gift except for the one that compels me to learn as much as I possibly can about everything I possibly can. So, I've talked about in other videos, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but there's this concept I've brought up almost all the time, and that is my qualification as a polymath. And it seems like very few people have actually been able to understand what it actually means. And that's probably because they're looking at the polymaths of history and seeing that, oh, to be a polymath, you have to do some science, you might do some medicine, you might dabble in some geology perhaps, you might play a musical instrument, you might do some mathematics, you may learn some foreign languages. Like, you have, therefore, a multiple diverse systems of knowledge. Poly. And math really means knowledge in some sort of sense. So that was the original terminology. But I seem to have taken that and I've pushed it to some new level. I'm almost redefining the term so that it suits me. So I have ensured that there is no field of knowledge that is unfamiliar to me. Like, some of them might be bits of like a bit dodgy in some sort of way. I don't know a lot about sort of the intricacies of, say, international banking, although I have some oversight because I'm looking at these things all the time. And I've used YouTube as one of my main systems of education, particularly over these last several years. And I've used New Scientist, like I say, that I've read the last 3,000 versions of that, and the Science Show on the radio, well, I've listened to the last 3,500 editions of that, and I've read lots of books and stuff, and textbooks, and I claim to have had 100,000 conversations, and 3,000 of those being 3 hours or longer. Like, I've made sure that I've qualified myself for the opinions that I have. Now, occasionally, and you can look up these yourself, and I actually encourage you greatly to do that. Look at the comment sections of all of the YouTubes I've put up, particularly these last 3 weeks. And I want you to look at the questions that are asked and the comments that are made, and then the responses that I've actually made to them. And you'll see that some of the comments are really serious. Some of them are a bit sort of like lighthearted, And some of them can be just pure comedy, and some of them are referred to as the comedic assassin. So no one actually continues to insult me on in the comment section because they know that they will lose. And even I did one on one of my YouTubes that was about consciousness. The Polymath defines consciousness, something like that, And I attracted these, they were academics, I'd imagine, and I think they were probably professors of philosophy in distinguished universities. Or they'd written books on the subject. They'd certainly spent their 10,000 hours dwelling on the intricacies of philosophy and those great men, and perhaps a couple of women, who who began the great thinking traditions and then spurred on their discussions that developed until our time. And well, I haven't done that kind of research. So I define, like to them as well, I define my my polymath. So a polymath knows a lot about everything. Sorry. A polymath knows a bit about everything, whereas a specialist knows a lot about something, one thing. Oh, I didn't quite say that right. But anyway, let me see. Start again. A polymath knows something about everything, and a specialist knows everything about something. And that's the difference. And so there's this ancient story, and you're bound to have actually heard this story. And it's about, I think it was actually in ancient India or some place like that. And there's this group of blind men, and they're wandering through this jungle, and there's an elephant. And so they actually sort of try and work out what this thing is. And one of them says, "Oh, it's just like a piece of rope." Another one says, "Oh, it's like a trunk of a tree." Another one says, "It's like the wall of a of a building." Another one says, "Oh, it's like this enormous piece of carpet." Another one says, "Oh, it's like this giant stick." Another one says, "Oh, it's like some python or another snake or something." And so they all just grab a piece of the reality of the elephant, and each is convinced that that their reality is valid, and that they understand what it is that they have discovered. And it's only when they get back to the Sultan or the King or some other sort of person like that, and he gets all their stories, and he's able to assemble from all of the individual conflicting descriptions that they must have actually dealt with an elephant. So I am the Sultan who knows what the elephant is, and the specialists know their particular part, and I can only know what it is that I know because I can assemble all of those parts into one whole. And so I call what I'm doing is it's my mind's model. So I'm modeling reality. And it's a difficult thing because it's not like we know how to model reality in 3 dimensions because that's what our eyes do. Our brain does that for us, and our ears do that, and we can touch the reality we're moving through, and therefore get some kind of tangible reinforcement that yes, this is actual reality in some sort of way. But when we come to something like love, and which has been one of my like courtship and love and sex has been one of my main hits, my main viral videos and stuff. And knowledge has been another one, but the knowledge one is actually sort of tapered off till almost no one thinks they need to know about what knowledge is. Some of these things can't be modelled in 3 dimension quite obviously. And I'm a musician as well. And there was a time in 1985 when a patient of mine, I was taking an X-ray, and quite often we do these procedures and they might last 3/4 of an hour, sometimes even up to an hour. And we need to fill in the time just so they're not bored, and we've got nothing to do as well. We can't engage on another side of thing. So we have a conversation. Some people talk out of bullshit with their patients and stuff, but I always wanted to have some really amazing, interesting conversation. And this very, very wise lady said, every person has to learn 6 instruments before they die. And I thought, well, that's a worthy ambition. I think I'll have a go at that. because I already had recorded, but I gave that up like a long time before that. I gave that up when I was 13, and I'd played a bit of guitar, but I wasn't good. I just didn't put the time in, and my mind just wasn't good at learning the way I was trying to teach myself, or the way my teacher was trying to teach me and stuff. But I couldn't dedicate my time to it, because, like, you probably know that you can only really learn stuff really well when you're really enthusiastic about what it is you're trying to learn. Like, you don't want to be force-fed. You don't want to sort of like be shoving the knowledge down your brain. Like it's got to be, you've got to be digesting this thing. You don't want to have to throw up, or you don't want it to give you sort of diarrhea or something like that. Like, it has to be in some amenable form that becomes integrated with your essence. and so with music, like I can grab a recorder. I can think of a tune. Like a tune I remember. I grab the recorder and play it through first time without any errors, pretty much, in the key that it was originally on the radio, and then I could just transpose, and maybe 12 times, and sometimes in some of the simple tunes and stuff with that much range and stuff, like sometimes up this 12 times or so, the same tune played in a different key, and I do that to put my brain under the most extreme learning pressure. I'm forcing myself to learn. I'm forcing my brain to be in a situation where it is churning out all of the chemicals and stuff that makes learning continue. And so it's forming all these neuronal superhighways, and it's creating all of these advanced synaptic connections, and recruiting all of these disparate parts of the brain, and incorporating the whole lot into some kind of model. It's not a three-dimensional model, but it is in three-dimensional space. But it has such complexity, and that no one could actually understand what it's doing. And even in science now, we're starting to get to the level where we can map the brain of a fruit fly. We can actually create three-dimensional models of that, because we have the technology to slice it up in these ultimately thin sections, and then just assemble them all together and say, well, this part goes with this part, and this part goes with this part, and we've done that with the elegans worm. We've got the worm brain is being mapped, and we're getting to the point where we're able to sort of map the brain of a mouse. Like a mouse's brain is like a billion times smaller than ours. Like we're getting there. We're getting to these levels where we can understand more about the actual thing that makes us think. That thing that old Descartes, René Descartes, sort of coined his thing. I think, therefore I am. Well, he didn't have a clue what it was that was doing the thinking. He just knew that there was something inside his head that was doing the thinking. And poor old René, after all, like, he had a hard life. Like, the first trouble he had was being given a girl's name. And the second thing was it seems like he had a very shaky hand when he was shaving all that time. So he used to Descartes himself all the time. Like, I know I'm putting Descartes before the horse, but I'm trying to play some kind of really neurological trick on you. I want to create something that's called the mnemonic device. And this mnemonic device is something that is like a little anchor point, so that you will remember this. Is that there's a reason why you can come back and find this place in your memory where you encountered this particular eccentric. Like the eccentric guy who believes that if he pretends to be the Messiah, then everyone else might also pretend that he's the Messiah, and therefore satisfy this ridiculous prophecy that was written in some ancient text by goat herders and fishermen, perhaps, that didn't have a clue about anything really, apart from just manual labour and memorising the texts that were passed down from from centuries before them. It's really crazy that we think that there was anything of any real historical value in what was said, or whether there's even any miracles in that. But I'll tell you some miracles though. There's a miracle. One of the first big miracles for humanity was the idea that our thoughts could exist outside our head. So you sort of had that with like empathy, with when we developed symbolic communication. That was a big thing. Our thoughts could be transmitted through air, through vibration, and then collected and then recomposed back into thoughts. And that was a big sort of thing. And then later on, there was this idea that we can project our thoughts onto the wall of a cave. We can paint a picture of an ibex or a lion or a horse or something like that, and put it on the wall, and therefore our imagination has been externalized. I think Dawkins would refer to this as the extended phenotype. Like the bird's extended phenotype might be to build a nest, and our extended phenotype might be to create some kind of tools, or to have ideas that then stick to the wall of a cave that can still be interpreted in some really strange way tens of thousands of years later, with minds that have no idea about the minds who were the first ones to actually put those things there. Now, when it comes to writing, which has really only been around in maybe 6,500 years or so, and even then, when it first began, it was a very simple form. It was like we lived in cities, and we could no longer remember everyone's name or trust them. We had no idea who these people were, but we still had to sort of organise ourselves with them. And so rather than having to remember, and then one of us sort of saying, "I don't remember doing that," we wrote it down on a piece of clay using a sharp stick, and from someone else could actually just look at that some later time and sort of reconstitute what was said, what those numbers of exchange meant, and the terms and condition of the promise that was made. And it became sort of accounting. Like, in order for a ruler to be able to satisfy his responsibility to his community, he needed to make sure that the work was allocated correctly across the kingdom, so that everything that needed to be done was done when it was required to be done. And certain grand things could be done. You could build temples. You could build irrigation channels. You could claim other areas of land. You could turn them into agricultural resources rather than just leaving them sort of to nature. So writing began in that sort of way, and then it continued to progress until it became sort of, it could define sort of poetry, and it could define some kind of communication or wish list between the person and the gods, and then eventually, like even back in those days of those early sort of languages where it's pictographic, or even just these stupid little triangular bits of stuff into the clay and stuff, like it. The big advance was to actually have a phonetic alphabet rather than trying to symbolically represent a goat. You spelled it out, G-O-T, and so you didn't have to actually know what a goat was in its visual form. But if you knew what the marks on the clay were, then you could say the word, and everyone would know what it was you're referring to. And then, like, being able to write the stuff down, it was a very elite kind of profession that took a lot of time to learn. And then the practice of it, like, you became the letter writer, so that some poor peasant could sort of approach you on the street and sort of say, "I'll give you so many shekels if you'll put down my thoughts into a form that can be then transmitted to my cousin in some distant land, and therefore things could be organised without needing to actually send someone there to tell them, because that's not a very reliable system anyway. By the time they got there, they might have forgotten. They might have decided to make up some totally different story, and the whole thing would be totally utterly ruined, But write it down. Put your thoughts into this bizarre sort of medium, and then the other end, the thoughts could be taken off the medium, could transferred back into thoughts in someone's head, and those thoughts can then be translated back into the words and some other illiterate person at the other end can receive a message. Like it's a telegraph system. It was amazing, and even up to like you're going back sort of like the Gutenberg press, where we cause this new revolution stuff. Even before that, like there's really only 10% of the population were able to read and write. There were simple kind of things. People could somehow sometimes need to write down their name, although often that was just scratching a cross on a piece of paper or something, or some kind of verifiable thing. But that was easily forged, and there was other systems perhaps where what was I saying? And so once the Gutenberg press was developed, you could actually it became worthwhile for anyone and everyone to actually learn to read and write. And of course, the main driver of this was religion. You could suddenly start producing all these Bibles without having all these monks sit down for 1,000 hours and produce one Bible. You could actually just get the whole thing worked out with these, and just get the whole thing printed. And you've got 1,000 versions coming out of a year out of this one little shop. And if they run out, you can just go back and say, well, just print off another 1,000, thanks. And people could make money out of it. But also meant that suddenly you had people making pamphlets. If you had some sort of radical idea that you wanted to spread across the land, like Martin Luther did, then the idea could get out and go around. But then at the same time, you also had this thing called fake news was coming out as well. People with some bizarre, extreme, crazy ideas, or you had some people trying to scare other people with crime. There's some gruesome murderer going around, and or just to sell copy and to make some money out of it, or get some sort of notoriety about it. And then we come to our era, where we've got this incredible system where I can produce my YouTubes, and I am living in my time, in my space. And I'm talking to no one. I'm looking at no one. There's just a lens. And there's some little image of myself beside that, sort of telling me that this is all working. So I'm just look over there now. It's still working. And you're in the future. So you can't hear this at all when I'm saying it. But in the future, you will hear my words. And you will see my face. You'll see the expressions and stuff. You'll know that I'm a comedian. You'll know that I'm very knowledgeable. You'll know a lot about me. But I'll never know anything about you because I've got no clue. And you might not even be born yet. None of the people who are alive in my world might even be alive in your world. It might be a century's time, and you're in a totally different sort of era, and you might be a historian looking back through the archives, trying to work out what the hell was going on back then, and how some guy called Pete the Polymath managed to figure out a way to cause a revolution that transformed humanity, that erased all of the hatred that was embedded within every religious and political system, and harness the entire potential of humanity to solve all of its problems, including the war that's now sort of about to break out into perhaps nuclear, but we never know because we can't believe anything that we hear anymore. It's all really, really strange. And you're going to like this YouTube. You're going to share it and with other people who are on YouTube, and you're going to share it with TikTokers and WhatsAppers and whatever social media that you want out there, because you know that if this revolution that I'm trying to cause does work, then you become a follower. You become someone who is actually working for that future that I promise. And if you're some old codger who or you know some old codger, right? You know someone who doesn't even do internet, yet let alone does YouTube. Like I met some old friends of mine I've known for 49 years a couple of nights ago, and none of them are on YouTube. So if you know people like that, just give them a nod. Tell them to go down to the library and maybe tell them how to turn a computer on and how to find YouTube and how to find out what this message is, this revolutionary message is. And then for them to learn that and then go back to their lawn bowls club or their golf club or their sort of gentleman's club or their knitting club or their book club and share it. Because at the moment, like, I went really well with my ratings and hits and stuff like that with YouTube for a while, but now it's all just, it's plummeting. I've dropped to a third of what I was doing just a week ago, and it's all looking bad. Like the algorithm has decided that because I've not forked out the $300 required to bribe it successfully, then I'm being punished by making whatever I do invisible. Yeah. So you know what to do now. I've given you your message, and you know that I'm going to keep on sort of churning out YouTubes, and you know that they're all going to be different. Even the last one was only 2 minutes long and was so completely and utterly different that I thought I'd produce some kind of comedic genius. And the people who had committed themselves to believing in me and following me and patting me on the back as much as they could, they were just so offended that there was no philosophy in that at all. It was just one enormous fart joke. And I had to remind them, like, I am the comedian, and comedy is one of the most powerful systems of communication around. And I laugh every day when I see those American comedians really taking down an entire sort of political regime day by day with the most brutal humour possible, and it's absolutely hilarious. Now, like, I'm in a strange position now. I'm going to a festival in another sort of week's time, and there'll be 6,000 people there, and half of them will know me, and I'll be a hero to them. I'll have this paparazzi, and everywhere I go, people will say, "Oh, Peter, keep up the good work." And I'll go somewhere else, and someone will say, "Oh, I love you," and everyone meet will, like, "Can I hug you?" And it's all wonderful because I'm a respected elder in a certain community, and that's what we need as we grow older, and I can make that happen for you. Like, how many hugs do you get? I get almost none until I go to these festivals, and then I get so many hugs. I get sort of a bit hugged out, and I start getting worried about sort of picking up sort of various kind of lice and things like that, because I'm hugging the unwashed sometimes. You know, I know that. Now, if you want to sort of catch up with me in person, and you do have some way of getting to Melbourne, the Sunday after Easter, in the middle of the day, in the middle of Melbourne, it's actually Town Hall Station, on the street outside there. It's a very safe place because there's TV cameras, there's police patrol in the area. And I was there this week. I was dancing on the streets there with my mate Ali, and getting the passers by on the way on home from work, just to try and get them to have a bit of a smile on their face. Well, we're going to run a performance there, beginning at 12 o'clock on that Sunday, and I want you to turn up, or if you know some people who are in Melbourne, then contact them and get them to turn up. And if they are really shy, get them to bring along their camera, their device, and do a quick sort of video of what it is that we're doing, so that they can send it back to you, and so you can see that this revolution that I'm trying to cause is reality. It's the beginning of this future that we've been waiting for. It solves all of our problems. So that's all I can do. I can try and inspire you. I'm trying to get you out of your religion, get you out of your depression, get you out of your nihilism, get you out of all the other sort of like mindless patterns that you've gotten yourself involved in, and even things like devoting your life to being entertained by watching a screen. Like, you're watching the screen now and I'm entertaining you in some sort of way, but I'm educating you. Get away from your sports stuff, and get away from gambling, and get away from porn, unless it's somehow being used as therapy rather than trying to fill some kind of existential void in your groin. and get with it. Wake the hell up and build the heaven that we can make on this earth. This is the Messiah starting out. And thank you for being able to spend this time and replay it. Check on my words. Go back through my back catalogue, and even I'm looking in fascination with that, because the last, like, I've done like 150 videos or something now, and the last 50 videos, like my 50 most popular videos, the least popular of those ones has 31 views in the last 3 weeks. Like, people are looking at it. It's my back catalogue. It's my verification. Like, who the hell am I? Look in the back catalogue, and when I'm dead and gone, my journals, they're going back 42 years now. That's my life recorded with all my struggles, and it goes back to before I was anyone. I was more like you when I began my journals, and now I've sort of left everyone else behind, and I want you to catch up, because I can't live on forever, and you've got another sort of maybe 30, 50 years ahead of you, and you need to make something of real value in your life, and you have to leave some real legacy. And this video is mine. Thank you. And goodbye for now. It's Pete the Polymath. Have a laugh and do what it is that you need to do to become part of forever and ever.